Ladies and gentlemen, in the world of chess, the highest two possible titles that you can achieve are International Master and Grandmaster. And it is no secret that the biggest question that I get asked is, will you become a Grandmaster someday? And the answer to that question is not at the very moment, but in this video, I'm diving into that exact subject. And that subject is, what are the differences between an IM and a GM? Frankly, we can solve this very quickly. It's just one letter. See you, have a great video, get out of here. No, I'm just kidding. The real differences lie in the intricacies of how the game goes on, the nerves, the anxiety of how the game progresses, and whether you can keep yourself together as you get into the 40, 50, 60 moves and low on time on the clock. So, recently I played in a tournament, and I'm going to be sharing 4 games with you against 4 very, very strong Grandmasters from all over the world. And before I do that, I'd like to thank the sponsor of today's video, BetterHelp. Folks, we know that chess is a mental game, but so is a lot of life. Many people, including myself, are going through a constant whirlwind of insecurities, thoughts, doubts, anxieties, and more, all up here. Some people don't feel comfortable talking about what's going on in their mind for fear of being judged, while others might think that they'll be a burden to their loved ones if they open up. Well, therapy can help. Therapy gives you a safe, comfortable environment to talk through everything that's going on inside your head. And I've tried therapy before. You see, in my case, I didn't bring things up to my own relatives, not only because I might be afraid of what their reaction would be, but also because everybody already had their own problems. And so I thought I would be adding on to everybody's massive list of responsibilities in life already. And today's sponsor, BetterHelp, makes therapy super simple. You can talk to a therapist on a phone call, video chat, or even just messaging, however you feel most comfortable. Let BetterHelp connect you to a therapist who can support you, all from the comfort of your own home. Visit betterhelp.com/GothamChess or choose GothamChess during sign up, and that way you'll enjoy a special discount on your first month. Now let's get back to the video. Thank you, as always, to Sponsored Gotham. My friends, this is game number 1, and I will take you all around the world. We'll be going to South Korea, we'll be going to Brazil, and we will be ending our time in Spain by way of originally Argentina. So this is Zhu Yi. He's a Grandmaster from China, and in this game, I will be demonstrating to you the difference of decision-making under the efficient use of time between an IM, myself, and a GM, my opponent. So I played e4, c5, and to my shock and to my horror, my opponent allowed me to play my gambit. A lot of people do not accept this gambit. So my opponent played knight c6, and against my delayed wing gambit, which is one of my specialty openings against the Sicilian, Zhu Yi took this pawn, which is crazy. Nobody does that anymore. And by the way, the eval bar got bigger. I don't know if you noticed this, but they made it bigger, which is really funny. So now you can see the eval bar better. And the idea behind this is that I go here and I go here, and I just get a massive center. And if I could have it my way, I'm just gonna get all the pieces to the party, right? So, Grandmaster not afraid of the fire. There are ways to get into the fire and then get burned. He's not gonna do that. He plays this move e6. And so, against e6, I have a lot of different setups. I can play bishop d3, keeping all my pawns here, or I can do what I did in the game, which is just try to take his head off. Like, just basically try to knock him out, shove all his pieces back, and he makes a mistake, actually. He goes knight e5, which allows me to attack him again and play this move d6. So from the opening, the International Master, that's me, I'm the International Master, actually knew the ideas better than his opponent. I played like this, and I shoved his pieces backwards, and I had an advantage. But a Grandmaster rolls with the punches. He thought for a bit, and he played this move e5. Now, the best move here for white is tough to find. It really is. If I explain it to you, you will get it. The idea of e5 is that if I push or take, whichever one, now this is open, and he will play queen to h4 and probably devastate my position. And we will get into this completely insane position where, like, I can maybe win his knight, but he's going to take all my pawns, my king's in the center, so we didn't go for all that. The best move in this position is the move knight a3, responding to a strike in the center with just a knight journey, and the point of knight a3 is to play knight b5 and knight here. And if he tries to stop knight b5, I play it anyway because of this pin. So I'm not saying I would have won the game if I played knight a3, but to beat a grandmaster, you got to beat him multiple times in the same game. Instead, what I did is I did this. I gambited another pawn, so now I'm down 2 pawns. And now, rather than playing e5, I should have probably played queen d4, at which point it is really difficult for black to move. My opponent played in a very provocative way, and sometimes grandmasters do that. They take risk in order to try to imbalance the position because their opponent is not going to punish them in the most efficient way. And I didn't. I went here. I thought this was a very smart move. You know, shielding in his bishop, like he can't move anything. I thought I just have a clear advantage. He plays this very aggressive counter strike on this side of the board, defending his center, kind of in the style of the King's Gambit, if any of you know it. I develop, he goes here, and I just keep going. I mean, I'm attacking him, but you will notice, look at where my time went. I'm getting nervous, right? I'm getting nervous. I have a good position. I don't want to mess it up. So I spend 2 seconds on that move. Then I proceed to spend 1 minute 54 seconds on this move h4. This is an inefficient use of time. He goes here, I go here. He plays queen b6. He's looking at queen b2. He's looking at queen here. And what I do here is I traded the queens, and I thought, he's never going to get out of this position. How is he going to deal with this? And how is he going to deal with my knight? I'm getting very confident, but now I'm down to a minute. He gives me this pawn to get out with his bishop, but my pawn is 2 squares away from queening. I still have the advantage, right? I develop, he goes here, and now was my last moment. As you get deeper and deeper into a fight in a chess game, you have your branch for keeping an advantage gets much thinner. Like earlier in the game, I could have played a handful of moves. Now I have to be very precise, and right now what I have to do is either go for it with my knight or castle. Give up all my pawns, get my rooks into the attack as fast as possible, right? Some of you may be wondering, what about knight f7? That is a fork, but this comes right back in my direction. And even though I can take his rook, I will get forked and I will not win anything. I did something here. I went bishop f7, and here I attacked this pawn and I threatened to fork, and I thought this was very creative. My advantage is now gone. It is all but gone. He proceeds to sacrifice his rook, and I thought I was really smart for winning his rook. I'm not. As the position transforms, he now is able to get out his final rook. He is going to have passed pawns on both sides of the board, and more importantly, he's up 30 seconds on the clock. Inefficient use of time, very, very good defensive skills by my opponent, putting me in very practically difficult situations, and all of a sudden, I have lost my most advanced pawn. That was a little trick there, but he has now 3 pawns for the rook, because I gambited one in the opening, then a second one, and now a third one, and he's completely protected. And at this point, a grandmaster might settle himself down with the white pieces and say, you know what, I'm in it for the long haul. I'm in it for a very long defensive game. Yeah, I fall apart immediately. We trade, he takes, and now he's got a pass pawn on this side of the board. He's going to take this pawn and push both of these. And I feel like the funniest thing about this game, because, yeah, he just, he got his pawn through. The funniest thing about this game is he beat me without a bishop. Like, all that hubbub, bro straight up did not move his light-scored bishop the entire game. Like, he beat me down a piece. That's embarrassing, and I'm still showing it to you because, again, it's just a matter of speeding up when the time is right. I had him in a situation where it looked like he literally could not move a single piece. He straight up could not move all his pieces. And he found a way to get out of it. He found a way to punish me for my inaccuracy, sacrificing material so I would not have an attack. And he was just so accurate to the bitter end. And that's game number 1. But I've got more. And this one's a tough one. This one is a tough one. I will tell you about this game. I actually beat this guy. This is Sergei Drigalov. I played him some months ago. He was in a video of mine because, if I beat a grandmaster, they are making it into one of my videos. So I was actually confident. I was confident going into this game, and last time, again, I played a very similar Sicilian variation with the white pieces against him, g6. Now, this game by my opponent was playing with fire, right? How grandmasters play with fire, create imbalances, take risks, but ultimately manage them really, really well and understand the dynamics of the position. Now, this game was anything but that. So completely not that. So he plays in a way where he allows me to damage his pawns. I play d3, and the way I like to play this position is f4. I like to play with more space. I like to play knight f3, and then I like to attack on the dark squares, right? So he went knight f6, knight f3, we both castled, and generally black creates counterplay on the queen side. But he didn't. He didn't create counterplay on the queen side. So for the second game in a row, in the first, like, let's say 8 moves, I have a better position. My opening knowledge is clearly there. In fact, nowadays, there has never been a closer gap between titled players like myself, I'm not a grandmaster, and grandmasters in openings. And I clearly have a good grasp of my openings because I am getting pretty comfortable advantages, especially with white. I mean, it's harder to get an advantage with black. You go second, but... And the idea is queen to e1. All right, the idea here is queen e1, simultaneously defending, but also venturing over here, which is one of the reasons I like to play this move f4. Because without f4, I would not be able to venture out with my queen. Now I have queen e1. He plays bishop g4, which made sense, I guess. I should have went knight e5 here, probably. But I decided, you know what? I'm just going for mate. Like, go ahead and take my knight, okay? I'm just gonna go for checkmate. So he did that and went e6. And here I thought, I mean, I'm better. Like, I definitely have a better position. I thought about jumping in right away, but I did not see anything concrete after, let's say, f5, he can take. I thought about bishop g5, but that doesn't really do anything. I thought about pawn takes, but he could just trade queens with me, and nobody is getting attacked in this position with no queens. So, bishop e3, right? And now he plays this very odd move, h5. And I kind of went like, why would you push a pawn 2 squares in front of your king? I mean, I guess the idea is to play here, so I played h3. Spent 17 seconds on h3. That is a terrible usage of time, you know, but I was I was looking at a lot of stuff. I was looking at e5, but I went h3. He went queen e7. And here, I played too slowly. Queen e7, I only realized the idea of after I played my move. So it looks like I can play e5, but I can't play e5 because he would go knight d5, and that would be defending his queen, right? And I don't really want a queen trade because I want to attack. Now, my first thought here was just go f5. Just go for it because he pushed the pawn in front of his king, so that's weak. So right now we go for this critical idea, f5, rook f1, bishop g5. We just add everybody to the party, right? But instead I was like, well, I shouldn't rush. That thought, well, I shouldn't rush, doesn't make any sense. It's not a chess thought. It's a words and emotions thought. I'm playing a grandmaster, so I'm like, I'm not gonna rush. I'm gonna play rook to f1. What did I just say multiple times? I just said a person who is going to get a queen traded in this position will not have an attack, right? That's why I'm not going e5 because we're gonna trade, so I'm not going to trade the queens. And then it dawned on me, he could just trade the queens like this. So I didn't play e5 because of knight d5. I just didn't even realize he could just go knight d5. Because now my queen is hanging. I have to trade, because if I don't trade, he takes my bishop, and then he puts the bishop right there, and I'm going to lose material. So this moment of like, well, I don't know what he's doing, I should have went for it. And the point is, if he plays knight d5 in this position, I take, and my f-pawn is the hero, and I get a fork, and I'm going to probably win the game. And, you know, I'll be very, very happy. So again, the difference is that grandmasters take their chances when they are given, and he takes his chance, and now we have to play a pretty boring position. I was a little bit disheartened. However, at this moment, I was like, I can't lose. I can't lose. I have a wonderful pawn structure. His knight can't re-enter the game because he tried to, you know, desperately to trade it. I'm going to take a little bit more space. You know, he's playing this very cagey setup. I brought my king up. We both brought our rooks to the h-file, and we proceeded to trade a pair of them. And again, I just thought I'm going to have an advantage forever because he has damaged pawns. He has doubled c-pawns. My bishop is eyeing all of this. And remember, I have the confidence from our previous matchup. So now I'm limiting the movement of his pawns, right? Like this. Like, look at this position. I've got almost all my pawns on light squares. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. He has a dark squared bishop, I have a dark squared bishop, and we are eyeing these pawns. I'm thinking, in the long run, this is going to work out for me, because I'm going to put all his pawns on dark squares, I'm going to take space away from him, and I'm going to win. I mean, I'm speaking it into existence. They always say affirmations and all this type of stuff. Knight c8, I jump into the center, I undouble his pawns to get my bishop there, and now his structure is completely weak. He tries to go to the open file, I say no thank you. King f7. Now it's time to accomplish something with my life. So I go e5. And I'm just trying to lock him in. Okay? He takes, plays g5, I give him a check, and now I say, you know what? It's time for a king and rook, king, knight, and bishop endgame. It's time for me to take my chance of losing this game to 0, negative. You know, there's still a chance I can lose. I can accidentally allow in his rook and whatever. So I say, you know what? Let's go here. And what I'm gonna do now is put my king in the middle, and all your pawns are on the wrong color. This endgame is screaming for white to win it in the long run. So we start shuffling. 48 seconds for me, more than enough time. We're shuffling. I'm in his position. I'm putting some pressure. Here I decline a repetition of moves. So I don't repeat moves. I'm playing for a win. Bishop e7, knight c7, and he's blundered. He made a lackadaisical move. We both have 40 seconds on the clock, and it dawns on me that after knight c7, he has to protect this, and I jump out to the corner. Look at that. The knight is in the corner of the board. And I'm going to win his pawn. And that's all I need, because if I win that pawn, I'm going to take, get out. Both these pawns are weak. We both have 40 seconds. I'm beating this guy for a second time. He goes knight c6, and I take. He plays king f7 instantly. We both have 30 seconds. I need to adjust to the new situation. Now my mentality has to be, I got to win the game. I got to find a way to win the game, right? While understanding he might jump in at some point, he might go here, he might go somewhere with the knight. I put my king in the middle. Now, the way you win this, and I saw this idea during the game, was I go knight c8, and I trade the knight, and then I go after this pawn, like this. And then I create a pass pawn. But I was worried about knight d4, which is a really stupid thing to worry about, because I could just go here. This pawn is not really doing anything. In fact, his knight is like stuck, and I have a pass pawn. But again, these calculations happen very quickly. And also, what plays into this game is nerves. I got so nervous now. Watch the time. I spent 6 seconds on that move. I spent 5 seconds on that move. I spent another 4 seconds. I'm getting a time bonus every move. And another 6 seconds. I now have 6 seconds on the clock. He hasn't moved from 30. You know what started happening here? He started playing instantly. Every move, he started playing instantly. He played every move in like 1 second. And I decided, you know what? I'm going to clog this position so he can't do anything. Now I'm going to reposition my pieces, and I'm going to go after his weaknesses. He's still making every move instantly. Look at him. He's not going below the time, right? 7 seconds. Knight f7. And I'm like, oh my God. He has a fortress. He has a defensive fortress. I'm not trying to make a draw. I want to win the game. Okay, I'm going to give him that pawn, and I'm going to take that pawn. And now I'm like, oh, he blundered. Because that pawn is completely up for grabs. If I can get my bishop to d8, he can't protect his pawn. I'm going to be up 2 pawns. Easy. Easy, easy. So I make a move. I have 3 seconds on the clock. He plays bishop h6. And I'm like, yes. Yes, yes, yes. Now I can play bishop to d8. Because bishop e1 is silly. Because king b6. So I play bishop h4. And I blunder checkmate. In 1 move. And this is the difference. The difference is that a grandmaster would have been a routine for them to get to this position. The second I realized I was winning, I wish you could experience what I go through mentally and physically. Like, the stress level skyrockets because I know what I have now in my grasp. And I just started shuffling my pieces around aimlessly. And I just totally lost sight of the plot. He played very well. Of course, they all do. They all play very well. I'm still much better. I'm still winning. I just have to not blunder checkmate. Like, I should have went here, making the knight move, and then maybe make the knight move again. And it's got no target. And I play king e2, and I just go back for bishop d8 or something. Like, of course, it's not the end of the world, but this is crazy. Getting mated like this. This is tough. And the fighting spirit is there. 60 moves of focus. And for my opponent, getting me low on time and winning like that is absolutely brutal, I got to tell you. But I have a surprise for you waiting. So if you made it this far in the video, I do have a surprise at the end. In this game, I played Grandmaster Krikor Mkhitaryan. He's a Brazilian Grandmaster. Shout out to all the Brazilians that watch chess. And this game was Kind of, it was a mix of the previous two. He played a very, very aggressive opening against me. He took the center. I went here. I traded, and I attacked his center right away with my bishop and my knight. And this game, I'm playing black, right? So every game so far, I've had an advantage with the white pieces. Well, here, I have a position from the opening that's very good for black. I mean, it's a good combative position. I have a knight placed directly in Krikor's position, right, in the center. I have an open b file. I mean, as far as getting an imbalanced game with good chances, I thought this was very, very decent, right? b4, we both put our rooks, and I'm just sort of anticipating his advancement into my position. I can sort of feel here when the game was going on, I was getting outplayed. I even said it on the live stream, like, he's playing more accurately than I am, but I'm going to fight. He took, right, and I went here, he went here. And I was a little bit worried here about taking to give him two connected passed pawns, but I would also get two connected passed pawns, which is just really funny. Like, psychologically, I just wasn't even, like, thinking about that. So, of course, I should have taken. It was a bad decision to go here. Oversight, that's just a skill issue. He goes g3. I start attacking. We get this very complicated game. And the whole game I knew I'm a bit worse. I'm a bit worse. I mean, I just am. He's got this very strong pawn. He's got the strong bishop, but I'm going to fight, right? So I rotate my knight over to b6 to put pressure on his queen side. He kicks me out. I play knight b6. And right here, after doing a good job managing my clock, a good job managing the opening, I found an idea. Just like I did against Dragalov in the previous game. I found a very nice idea to mobilize my pawns. The idea is queen to f7, attacking the pawn on c4. It's not to take it with the queen, because after the queen trade, he can actually fork my king and my knight, because my knight no longer protects d5 because it moved, and my queen is gone. The idea is to take with the knight. He went here, and I went, look at that. And the idea of that move is not to take back. The idea is to go c4. That was a clearance sacrifice. And he can't take because I'm going to pin the bishop to the queen. Right now, in my mind, I'm going, oh my God, I'm winning. Oh my God, I did it. Like, I broke through. I'm going to get this pawn back and that pawn. And I have two pawns that are both 3 steps away from queening, holding hands. They're holding hands. They're going hand in hand. And they are going to get a police escort. Again, I'm like, I'm doing it. I'm doing it. He goes here. Now I have a moment. I'm like, should I give them support before I push them? I thought actually pushing was incorrect. You know why? Because he could just sacrifice. I thought he could just get rid of my pawns. But what am I talking about? I have an extra knight. Like, what? Why would I? I didn't play this move because I was scared he would take with the knight. So instead, I went here. Now he goes queen g2, and I'm thinking, oh, he wants to go d6 and bishop d5. I don't want him to go d6, and by the way, he can't even go bishop d5. Like, what am I even, what? He can't go here. I mean, he can't go bishop d5, and I miss his entire idea. I play here, all my advantage is gone. It's all gone. It's all gone. It's all gone because I realized he can play f5. Now he's coming at me with the bishop and the rook. What I should have done is I should have stopped d6 by going here. Now the queen is not the first line of defense. Now f5 I can just take, and now I will play d3, I'll play rook c5, I'll play all these things. I'll take this pawn. But I caught it too late. Now I'm in trouble. So credit to Krikor for finding this idea. They always take their chances. Look at this. I mean, he's sacrificing the pawn to get me to open up. I said no thank you, and I just tried to fight. In this position, I was really dejected. It was +5. And yet here, the grandmaster inside of me kicked in. And I started defending my position with tactical tricks to protect my knight. Queen d4 check, king to g7. And all of a sudden, we both have no time. We're at 10 seconds. And despite it being +9, he messes up his advantage. And I find rook c2 with massive threats on his king, forcing Krikor to trade the queens. Making a very practical decision not to panic. Difference between IM and GM. When he lost all of his advantage, he didn't panic. He did not panic, and instead, I'm in an endgame now where white has 3 passed pawns, and this is a very tough endgame to defend. Maybe an engine can do it, but he pushes his pawn, he plays rook c4, he gets in, but he loses one of his pawns, And at this point, in full panic mode, it's basically going to be who holds their nerves better. And I got to tell you, it was him. Because I went completely all in against this king. But you know what the major difference was when I got to this position? You know what the difference was? A few moves ago, Krikor, in this position, anticipated I would want to put the bishop on c5, which is why he put his rook on c8. With 0.7 seconds on the clock, he was cerebral enough to realize I'm going to go there at some point, and he's going to stop that and push his pawn. And that is exactly what happened. And it only hit me in this position in panic mode why his rook was on c8. Bishop c5 is checkmate. It's going to lead to a checkmate, probably. So instead, I have to go here, and I can still defend the position. But this is a very tough endgame to defend. In fact, it's probably not defendable because he will play a6 and also push this and push this and push this. And I lost. And this game was tough because, again, for a brief spark of genius, a brief moment, I almost did it. Then I made a boneheaded decision. He created counterplay. To my credit in this game, I actually didn't just melt. I actually tried to, still create some counterplay. And it was +9, okay? And I didn't lose here. I lost later. So, but that's the difference. The difference is that he is better at stabilizing. And ultimately, when it comes down to it, what a move. What a move made with less than 1 second on the clock, anticipating that my bishop would want to leave one day, sensing I was trying to go for naughty things by his king. And he stopped me. And yeah, that's the brutal nature of playing Grandmasters. But if you had the patience to make it this far, it doesn't always have to be that way. All right? It doesn't always have to be that way. As you can see, this was a game that I played against Plati3, who I believe is Alan Pichot. Yes, strong player. Originally from Argentina. In this game, I played my Scandinavian defense. Just had a course on this opening. You can check it out for free. Been really loving it. And he plays this, which is a very funny move, actually. H3. And there was a Twitter thread about it by a chess author named Nikolaos Ntirlis from Greece. And I saw the Twitter thread, but I never thought I would have to learn openings from a Twitter thread. And I got into trouble very early. Like, he got a very good position. I just sort of improvised in the opening. I played in a very odd and provocative way. We had a very, he couldn't take my queen because I would take his queen. So we got a very imbalanced game early, just like every other game that I play. Every other game. You saw move 10 in every one of these games. The position's complicated. Like, my openings are on the level of these players, sometimes even higher. I mean, I'm getting advantages, right? But the difference between IM and GM is that the game, the fight goes on for a very long time. Like right here, my biggest objective should be defending my king. I didn't do that. Alan gets a massive attack. Rook, knight, bishop. That's it. I've screwed it all up. And I thought during the game that was the end of the game. I mean, I have to play this horrendously ugly move. Then I'm trying to kick out his knight. And I'm just in a very uncomfortable position. He has more activity. He has a clear target. I'm down 20 seconds on the clock like I always am against good players. Plus, he's 29-50. He was during the game. But then sometimes, broken clock is right twice a day. But as you can see against these Grandmasters, I do get good positions. It's just a matter of, can I hold my nerves? Can I convert them better? Can I be more accurate as the game goes on? And look, this is a terrible position for Black. Like, I am under a lot of pressure, but I'm doing my best, right? And right here, if I don't find one move, I lose. White is dominating, active all over the board, and yet I have one move that is a cold shower for the white position, and that move is f5, and I found it with 24 seconds on my clock versus 1 minute. Blocking the queen, getting out of the way of the bishop, stopping anything from going to e4, and suddenly, I'm on the offensive. I go here to stop the knight from going here. Then I play a5. a5 enables the move bishop a6 and also stops b4. He goes here. I activate the bishop on the diagonal. I put the rook on the open file. Suddenly, Alan Pichot and I both have 20 seconds on the clock. The whole game has turned around. And I'm better. Bishop b7, knight b2. Now I'm like, oh my god, how do I actually take advantage? I put my queen on g3. I don't know what the follow-up is, but I'm just doing it. Now I have a crazy tactic, which is sacrificing my knight. I would have never seen that. I go here, he trades the queens, and I'm like, oh, I messed it up again. Typical Gotham. All right, now we're gonna have to play this endgame. 2 bishops, I'm staring at his pawns. Maybe I'm gonna use my pawns to kind of break them down, but we both have 10 seconds. I strike in the center to weaken his position. He takes, right? His pawn's hanging, he goes here. Now, I can slide all the way back, but I really like this move. Putting pressure on his position, trying to get a passed pawn to the e-file, right? Put the bishop on c3 to facilitate the advancement. And now, what I do here, this is a move that I would never, ever play against somebody my level. But I played against him because it's this. Because now I can't lose. Now I put the bishops of the opposite color. I create this blockade. I'm going to put my king on f6. I can't lose. I just can't lose. I can't lose. It's not losable. The other ones were losable. This one's not losable. I go rook e3 and rook here. And suddenly I'm like, wait a minute, am I going to win the game? And the answer is yeah. He succumbs to the pressure, loses a pawn, which I forget to take here because I have 3 seconds. He loses this pawn, and he loses this pawn, and he has to go here, and I take, and I'm going to take his bishop, and I'm going to take his... He just lost. He lost. So I beat a 2950 GM. I can do it. It's there. In this game, it wasn't from the opening that I had an advantage. It was a complex game. I was worse. I defended, and I found the one and only move to stop his initiative, to stop him from bullying me. Then I became the bully. I took over the game. I activated all of my pieces off the back rank. And when we clashed, I was the one that was left standing. And that's the difference. The difference is that what you see in this game happens 1 in every 4 to 5 games. But from the other side, it happens all the time. Defensive ability, efficient use of time, playing on your opponent's momentum, trying to get the momentum back from your opponent, taking back the pace of the game. So many things make up Grandmaster level chess. And that's why they have the title, and I don't. Yet. Now get out of here.